Hey guys, welcome to another week of the Monday Huddle, where we are teaching you to beat your Monday, talking about tips, tricks, ideas, all kind of stuff to help you be the best you that you can be. I'm G.
I'm Derek.
And here we go with another quote, another quote for the week.
It was like you was trying to put week and quote together. Little quick. That might be a new word.
Maybe we can do it.
So listen, I just want to say thank you all for the feedback, whether it's personally, whether it's in the comment section, whether the DMs. We made a request for you all to share your quotes. And for those of you that did, thank you so much. It's always interesting to me to think about people, like the different perspectives that we have, and how somebody may see a quote and they see something different in it, which is why I love G and I. Our perspectives are different. He's lived a different life than I have. I've lived a different life than he has. But we come to this podcast, this video, same quote, different perspectives. I feel like by the time we get done, we've hashed it out. Yeah. We come up with some pretty good perspective, and you all get the benefit from this mastermind that we're holding here today. Which means you know we got another quote. And I'm excited about this one. This is really good because it reminds me of a quote. This quote reminds me of a quote. So it says, your present circumstance doesn't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you start. Your present circumstance doesn't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you start. The person who said this was Nito Quibbian. I'm massacring these names. I'm killing these names. Not killing it in a good way, but like I'm just jacking them up. Nito Quibbian. Quibbian? I'm not sure. Your present circumstance does not determine where you can go. Your present circumstance doesn't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you start. Yeah. What do you think about that?
You know, first, I love that you mentioned we have different perspectives when we come and we do these podcasts each week.
Absolutely.
And so that you guys know, we don't have like preliminary talks and be like, hey, this is the quote, what you thinking? Let's set it up. No, listen, this is organic. This is raw. This is like, when I was growing up, one thing I wish I could do and I could never do is like flow. Like, you know how some people, they're like, my name is G, and I'm here to say I love Fruity Pebbles in a major way.
You took it back to the 80s. That was like 80s fun. That was nice.
And so when we sit during this podcast, it's raw. It's from the dome. It's experiences.
Absolutely.
It's things that are in our heart. It's things that we've experienced in our own life. It's not something that we read unless we give you a resource. These are things that we have pressed up against, and life has showed us how to navigate against it, or how we failed and not go back to that place.
That's good. And we talked about that last time. Yeah. Right? It's talking about being able to use this perspective. Actually, it wasn't last time, it's time before last. But we talked about using this perspective, this ability to go back and see things from a very unique way. And I think oftentimes people, they'll say that our circumstances, they will determine and dictate where we can go and what we can accomplish. But this quote says, don't even worry about that stuff. That stuff is going to happen. In fact, if you do it on purpose, if you live on purpose, you will be able to control what happens. But they're saying right now, focus on where you are.
It's a starting point.
It's a starting point.
It's like, you know, I go to the gym and I need some work, right? And when I look in the mirror, that's my starting point.
That's what I'm saying.
When I jump on the scale, that's my starting point.
Yes.
But if you're not seeing the number that you like on that scale, that doesn't mean that that's your future. That just means that where you're going to start. So that's why some people take before and after pictures. Yeah. Right? And so maybe we need to take a look at our life and measure it in a way, right? Like before and after. You don't necessarily have to take the shaming picture, right? Of the dad bod, or if you're a lady, whatever they call ladies.
Mom bods?
I don't know.
I've never heard that before.
Never.
We don't want to talk about mom bods.
I want to be careful because we love y'all ladies. We don't want no problems.
No smoke. We don't want no smoke on the podcast.
But whatever that looks like, right? There's got to be a before and an after.
Absolutely.
So that you don't look at where you're at and think that that's how it's always going to be.
And I think we've lived enough life. Even you, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, we've lived enough life to know what happened the last time we made that decision, right? We talked about this bounce back. We want to run it back. Like, let me shoot it again. The opportunity when we get another day, another week, another Monday, we get to look back and see what happened last week. And if it didn't turn out the way we wanted it to turn out, we get another opportunity to do that.
That's right.
And so now, remember, we're scaffolding these podcasts. We're scaffolding, building out, fleshing out this conversation. One conversation was like, yo, you only get one life. What's the difference between what you could have been doing, what you should have been doing, right? G hit us with a quote talking about expectations versus reality. The whole point is there's a gap.
That's right.
There's a gap from where you came from to where you are now. There's a gap between where you are now, where you're going to be, and where you can be. We get to control what happens in between those gaps.
Listen, a lot of times people are like, oh, it ain't about the numbers. And, people, life is about numbers. It's a numbers game. You got to be specific in how you create goals. And we know some people that have done leadership stuff, they know SMART goals, specific, measurable, all of that stuff.
Attainable, relevant, timely.
All of that. So we have to be able to take a look at the numbers. It's a numbers game. We have 52 Mondays in a year. Right?
Absolutely.
And you're counting, you want to do better each Monday. And if you have a Monday that wasn't so good, you could be like, well, I got this many Mondays still to go.
That's good.
In regards to your finances, how much you've made, in regards to how many applications you're putting in because you're trying to get a new job or a better job. Right? Everything is measurable. We cannot allow ourselves to look at the right now and let it bring us to a place that is such a heavy weight that it doesn't allow us to see at what's ahead or how much time we have left. I love some people like, hey, these are our first quarter goals. Hey, we're in the final quarter. Let's do it. Or you see people on social media, my algorithm is like leadership and people of faith and all of that stuff. And it's just like, yo, we are in the final quarter. What are we going to do?
I love that. And the reason that I love it is because it allows us to have a metric of progress. Right? It's like people, they sometimes if you're trying to work out, they say we don't measure in pounds or inches, we measure how we feel. But even how you feel is measurable.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes when we go into a workshop or a leadership conference, we try to read the room, and there's things that we do to measure how the room feels.
That's right.
We ask questions, raise your hand, 0 to 5. We get people up, moving around, engaging, things like that. There's a way for us to measure because at the end of the workshop, at the end of my speech, I want to be able to say people engaged this much, or people laughed this many times, or people did this. Like there's something about measuring that I think allows us to look backwards, measure where we are, and look forward.
That's right. I mean, not measuring is almost like you're taking a stroll in the park.
Yes. Yes. It almost feels fearful also. Like I know I work with guys that are number heavy and I'm not, but I'm being forced to look at numbers because that's an indicator of success and progress.
That's right.
It's not the only thing, but it's a major component of trying to determine where I am versus where I want to be, and it allows me to set goals along the way.
And if you have a timeline, right, you're gonna be like, okay, I got like a week left. I'm like only 50% of the way. I got another 50%. It actually motivates you. It gets you going. It gets the wheels turning. There's an accountability, and I think that we're in a time where accountability is so low. We don't like nobody telling us what to do. You know what I mean? Like, stay out of my business. You don't pay my bills. I'm a man, right?
You can tell me.
Right? Let's go outside. How about that, right? All of that.
That's tough.
But the reality is that if we can be accountable ourselves, if we could be accountable to ourselves, if we can allow our goals, our measures, right, our metrics to be the thing that holds us accountable, then I call this the all by itself principle.
Okay.
When you put a seed in the ground, right? You water it, you talk to it. I talk to my seed.
He does talk to
right? And so, but you can't force that thing to grow. You could only water it and give it the correct sunlight. You're measuring how much water you're giving. You're measuring it. There's metrics as to how much sunlight you're giving to it. But you can't force it to grow. All you could do is create an environment for it to grow. And then all by itself, one day you see the blade poke out of you like,
Yeah, I did everything that I could have done in order to make that happen. All by itself, it did what it needed to do. I just created the environment. And I think this is really important because even according to the quote, we're talking about people who allow their previous circumstances to determine what they can do now and then moving forward. And I think sometimes people feel like either they don't have the skills or the talent, or they don't have the direction, or they don't know how to interpret or establish the metrics. They feel like maybe they're operating out of a deficit, and it's like, yo, wait, listen, stop. Because you're talking yourself out of doing it even before you start.
That's right.
You can't control any of that other stuff, but you can control the moment. The quote says, your circumstances, previous circumstances, don't even worry about it. We're going to consider them. We're going to look at them. We're going to evaluate them. But the only thing you can start now moving forward is this.
That's right.
And I think people, they look at every other situation, every other scenario, who's doing this, and they said this, and I'm not getting this raise, and I'm not getting opportunity, I'm not having a chance, and I don't have this. It's like, what do you have right now in your hand?
That's right.
How can you move forward with what you have in your hand? How can you start there?
I love that. I have a friend who started a nonprofit organization in Arizona. Amazing. They moved. They thought that they were planting a church. They get there and it was not a church plant. They heard wrong.
Oh my gosh.
And all of a sudden, the leader is like, I don't know what I heard. He locks himself in a room and is fasting for a week. And what he heard was, serve me with what's in your hand. And what he was like, okay, well, I got food, I got a house. And so they started putting on a piece of paper at the community center, if you're hungry, call this number.
Wow.
Yeah. And so now what they have are 10 splash houses with 10 kids in each one from the foster care system.
That's amazing.
And they have a multi-million-dollar organization. The state calls them to run their feeding program.
Yeah.
But when they got there, they had nothing. They barely had a vision, right? And so you cannot allow your vision to be like bogged down because of what you've gone through in your life. A vision is just that. You are running towards something that you see with your eyes closed, not with your eyes open.
I think about how many people who even had a limited vision, they could see the next step. Because some people are nearsighted. Like, I like to use this analogy when I'm talking about vision. Some people are farsighted, and they see things far, but they can't see things up close. And some people are nearsighted, where they can see things real close, but they can't see things that far, right? I would say, if we're using that analogy, I'm a nearsighted person. G is probably farsighted, if we had to stick with that analogy. But what I love about this analogy is that no matter where you are on the vision spectrum, there's room for you.
That's right.
And I can tell you so many stories personally, whether I heard them first person or I heard them through other people's stories of people who simply started with what they had in their hands.
That's it.
I can't tell you how many people that want to be rappers right now. They got like mattresses, lined up in their closets with this little, $25 mic.
Just a dream.
I can't tell you how many mamas done started selling tamales and fish sandwiches and chicken baskets out of their kitchen. I can't tell you how many people have pushed CDs out of the back of their trunks. I can't tell you how many comedians have started in these little bars and these little, people are they will start. In fact, we love a good rebound, bounce back, shoot again, run it back story. Movies have been made on that. The people started with what they had in their hands, and they turned out to become somebody great.
Yeah. One of my favorite people is Steve Harvey. I really like Steve Harvey.
He's got a good story.
Yeah, because he's not afraid to share his story.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times the behind the scenes stuff, nobody ever wants to put those on display. We want to show the victory, but we don't want to show what it took to get there. You know what I'm saying? We want straight teeth, and we're taking all the pictures after our teeth are straight, right?
Yeah.
But when we had the braces on, we're like, ooh, we
smile like this,
right? We're not. We don't. Recently, I just took a picture on my social media, Facebook. Go look at it. I was doing a mask. Why? Because I was starting to see some stuff on my nose, and so it looks good now, but it didn't look good about a week ago, right? And so we have to allow the rawness of, listen, it doesn't always start pretty. It doesn't always start good. Some of us have been trekking for a long time, and we've been trying to do our best for a long time, and we don't come from the best of the best, or we didn't grow up with a silver spoon.
Yeah.
And so, but don't allow that to serve as the reason or barrier from starting forward. You're saying, you know what? it may be like this right now.
Yeah.
But it ain't gonna be like this for long.
I also want to elaborate on this. When we're talking about it may be like this for right now, but it doesn't have to be that way for long. I think oftentimes people, they devalue their starting point. Mm-hmm. I've heard people talk about, especially in ministry and in community, like, I don't have a testimony. Or they're like, I don't have the glorious, I was poor and I was broke and broken families. And I was listening to this rapper, and he said, oftentimes people, rappers rap out of struggle.
Right.
And he was like, but I don't have that, but I still want to be a rapper. Mm-hmm. So because I don't have the struggle, does that mean I can't rap? Because he's like, growing up, it felt like I had to start at a certain place in order to justify the journey. And what we're saying today is wherever you are,
right, start
there.
That's right.
Wherever you are, right? Because there's room to grow. G and I talked about this a couple episodes ago. I was the type of person that I had this start deficiency to where it was like, I wanted to be in the middle of the pack and I didn't want to be the best, and I was always like comparing. And so it's like I was determining how I started based on where other people were and how they were moving. And that's so difficult to do, because if you use that as a metric, then you're always looking around to figure out where you start, how you move forward. Where G was the type of person that was like, I'm always looking for the next step. What's the next level?
That's right.
How can I get forward?
Right.
How can I purchase the extra property? How can I have the next sermon prep? How can I make the next relationship? How can I get in this room? I'm talking about $1 million or $100,000. G talking about $1 million.
Come on.
Right? If I'm talking about me, he's talking about $1 billion, right? G is the type of person that looks to that next step. But here's the cool thing about it is that he's starting where he is, I'm starting where I am, and everyone else, the important part of the process is not looking around. Not looking back, not necessarily looking forward. We're saying if you struggle in that area, start wherever you are.
So here's a good tip that recently it just kind of stumbled on me.
Because we got to be practical here.
Yeah. So this is what I did, right? I was just kind of like, okay, this is what I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
Right? And then I said, who do I need in my circle to accomplish this? And I put 1 through 50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who do I need in my circle? I need to know a good bookkeeper. I need to know some educators. I need to know some wealthy people.
Wow.
I need to know a good barber, because I gotta have.
He be looking nice. He be fresh.
I need to know some folks that can help me in regards to my health, right? And I'm putting people that I need, and little by little, I may know some of those people now when I'm putting their name on there. Otherwise, I'm trying to go meet those people so that I'm building my circle.
Yeah.
Because your net worth is based off of your net work.
That's so good.
So who are some people that you need in your circle to accomplish the things that you need?
Yeah, I'm thinking about this. It's like, I think oftentimes people feel like because I don't have them, I can't start without them. And I think the whole point that we're saying right now is just start with what you have, with who you have. It doesn't mean you have to stay there, right? But part of vision is understanding where you are now, being self-aware, being honest with where you are now, and then identifying where you need to go, where you want to be. So that's a good question. Who do I need in my circle? I need people that are going to dress me. I hate wearing like clothes. My wife, she like buys all my stuff. Like the stuff that I have on now, like I would wear the same thing every single day. So I need somebody that's going to be like, Derek, those two things go together. I need those people in my life. I need people that are farsighted in my life. I need people that are going to challenge me. I need people that are going to encourage me. I need people who are wordsmiths, not like wordsmiths here, but like on paper. People that will go out and make me look and appear and appeal in the most authentic way. I need videographers. I need website people. I need people that are good with graphic design. G and I have people that make worksheets and workbooks and flyers and things like that for us. I need those people in my life.
Yeah.
You said wealthy people. I like hanging around wealthy people. Not necessarily because of all the stuff they have, but because of their journey, their experience. Like I think, and that's something else. I think as you're building out your friendship groups, as you're trying to figure out how do I start, whether it's on a Monday or a Friday, whether it's with a little or a lot, wherever I start, who can I meet to help me get to the next place that I could not get on my own?
That's right.
Like that allows us to add those people to the list. So not only knowing where we are, but where we want to be will often determine and dictate who we put on our list.
We live in a time of information.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the things that I've had to learn is language. I had to learn a language.
That's good.
When you get around middle class norms, that there's a language, right? If you're hanging around, this is a language. If you go to a restaurant that is a steakhouse, plates are $30 to $50. They don't put a whole lot on those plates.
I don't.
It's all about presentation.
Yeah.
Right? Now, you go to, a hole in the wall.
Golden Corral. You don't even see a plate at Golden Corral. It's just covered with food.
And it's not about presentation.
At all.
It's a language, right? When you go to a restaurant, it's more about being social than it is getting full.
I like that.
Depending on where you go, everything is a language. My son was a breakdancer when he was younger, and he was learning different moves, and so the instructor was just kind of like, dancing is a language. You start learning new moves and what they're called as you continue to dance.
Oh, this is good.
Right? And so as you are navigating, I love what you just said, and I'm glad that you said it, is that we don't want to be around people that are wealthy because we want their stuff or we want their money.
Yeah.
We want to learn their language.
Yes.
We want to learn what information they know so that we can make it a part of our life, right? And so I think that as we are gaining information and knowing language, that'll get us into different rooms.
Yes, I love that. Right, the language that I used when I was 6 months old, right, is different than my 2-year-old language.
That's right.
Which is different than my 5-year-old language, which is different than my 10-year-old language, so as I continue to grow and expand, so will my perspective, so will my language. Wherever you are now, my hope, I'm reminded of like Akilah and the Bee. And when she showed up and she was talking and she said, I ain't no, and he was like, what'd you say? And she's like, I am not. And he was saying, in order to get into a space where you're respected and where you belong, your language is going to have to change. And so even the way, not only that we speak about things, maybe the way that we also speak about ourselves.
That's right.
Right? Our language regarding ourselves will have to change. I am, I see, I do, I think. Like those things that we speak about ourselves, that will also change when we get into different spaces. Otherwise, we won't be able to sustain the growth that we acquire if our perspective and our language doesn't change.
That's right. So listen, on this week, I know that you may be at a place that doesn't look a whole lot of promising or, that things don't look as great as you want them to, but that does not mean that that is what your future is going to look like. And so start somewhere, build a foundation, learn the language that you need, build the network of people that are around you, and you will begin to beat your Monday because you've created an environment and an atmosphere for growth. I'm G.
I'm Derek.
And this is another week of that Monday Huddle.
Peace.